doesn't like Pickens.
No,
I love it.
hold on. It's not that I don't like Pickens.
Every time I mention George Pickens as a big
I don't, Brew.
I
don't know. I don't think George Pickens is one of the 25 best receivers in the league. I think you agree.
Number one.
I don't know. I don't want to do a countdown.
I understand. I'm not going to do a countdown. But I think
he's one of the 25 most talented.
Sure.
That's for sure.
He's very talented.
Okay,
yeah.
that's
he
all.
also doesn't seem to like all parts of football. But go ahead.
He did have that one block. He got yelled at. Yeah. All right, so do we expect this move to propel the Steelers back to the playoffs?
All right, look. It's not predictions week.
No.
So you can't hold me to this.
Yeah, he's back.
Well, we're going to delay it.
We're going to delay it? Okay, good.
But you can't hold me to this. But right now,
pencil.
And my hometown is going to kill me.
Which hometown?
I know. You got to wait and see.
He's going to have Cincy out.
My playoff teams right now.
All of them?
Well, I mean, Buffalo, the Jets, the Dolphins. So the only one division going to get 3. Houston, Kansas City, Baltimore, Pittsburgh.
Cincinnati!
Wow. They have, and look, they have made because I don't like the vibes coming out of Cincinnati.
Wow.
They have made the playoffs, the Steelers, 3 of the last 4 years with what, Wilds? Some of the worst quarterback play in the league.
I thought it was the Jets.
Well, the Jets, that might be later. But with some of the worst quarterback play in the league.
Okay.
We know their defense is going to be legit. We know they're going to have a solid, at least solid run game. Pickens, Aiyuk. What this really is the true and complete litmus test for whoever's the quarterback, Russell Wilson or Justin Fields. If you can't succeed with this, because Freiermuth is a good tight end.
Yeah.
You got Arthur Blank now calling plays. He's legit. Like, if you cannot succeed, and I'm not saying you have to be all pro, but if you can't succeed in this, then Russ truly is washed, and Justin truly is
not a starting quarterback.
Maybe a backup for the rest of his career, however long that might even be. So it's on the quarterbacks. Really.
So can I? Because I don't even know that I disagree with you. I just want to follow up on one thing. Do you have any trepidation about picking a team right now, preliminarily, to make the playoffs over a team led by Joe Burrow, when in part of your analysis was whoever the quarterback is? Is there any trepidation?
We know it's going to be
right.
We know it's going to be either a guy, and obviously neither one of them is Burrow, but it's going to be a guy in Fields who's got great talent and dynamic ability, or Wilson who's had success and maybe can turn the clock back. You and I disagree on how bad Russ was last year. Yeah. I would say it's real, though. I think you would agree with this. His numbers were pretty good. Didn't throw for a ton of yards, but 26 touchdowns, 8 interceptions, 6 in the league in passer rating. He wasn't quite that good, but I think he's somewhere in between where you think he was, which was horrible, and the numbers. Well, I think he's somewhere in between the numbers and where you.
Where I and Sean Payton, his coach, think he was, who gave him $85 million to go away.
Said Bo Nix like Mahomes.
Sean Payton needs to get it done. Right, exactly. Sean Payton needs to get it done.
So here's where I would push back on the Steelers and how they played last year, with the quarterback play. It might have been a mirage. I don't think it was sustainable. Mason Rudolph played really well.
Yeah.
And so it wasn't a situation where it's like the Jets 2 years ago, where the 3 lowest rated quarterbacks in football, Flacco, Zach Wilson, and I forgot who their third quarterback was. Mike White were 3 Jets, and they were getting bad quarterback play every single game. They won 7 games, why people were optimistic when they got Rodgers. The Steelers actually were getting good quarterback play from Mason Rudolph. It's why they started him over a healthy Kenny Pickett in the playoffs. What the Steelers have going for them is how soft the beginning of their schedule is, which we can show you it does come with a downside, which is, man, they better have, if they're going to make the playoffs, Brew, I think we can show you the Steelers schedule.
Great stuff.
That final column is hellacious. Really week 11 on, but from week 11 to week 18, you play the Ravens twice, the Bengals twice, the Chiefs, The
Not
Browns.
making the playoffs. Or are you going to walk that back?
I mean,
look at this.
But the
Tomlin
first
does
10
not
weeks.
He's never had a losing
I mean,
season.
the question is, can they start 7-2? Honestly, that's the question.
Look at that. Nick's right. Look at that first
I mean, the
column.
question is,
every
can
one
they,
of those,
Is
even
Kirk Cousins
Dallas
bad
is
all of a
winnable.
sudden? Kirk Cousins will have the advantage week 1.
well, the quarterback advantage, yeah.
Okay,
for
but
sure.
it's in Atlanta.
I
It's
think
his
they're better
debut.
than Atlanta. I think they're better than Atlanta.
Maybe. We haven't seen Kirk Cousins in Atlanta. I'm interested in Atlanta. But it's going to write Kirk
Coming
Cousins
off an injury.
The point that I'm.
You bring that up every time we talk Aaron Rodgers.
Well, he's
Coming off
going
an
for 300
injury.
yards, Maurice.
Isn't it the same injury?
but to kind of to my point, Wilds, at Atlanta is their second hardest game of the first 10 weeks.
Sure.
Like that's like you have Raiders, Jets, Giants, Washington as a 4-game stretch with a bye sandwiched in the middle of it. Yeah, that is, and we can move on. If they are going to, we're going to know early, Brew. Kind of what you were saying about the Bears, but in the opposite way.
Yeah.
Where you were like, if they lose to the Panthers and to UConn, they're not going to make the playoffs.
But think how many years recently you've been surprised by the Steelers.
No, I get
You know what I mean? Like,
They have,
even
they
if they
have
start to, it's
delivered
like,
mediocrity like no
Wilds
other
is very
team.
anti.
All right, let's talk about this because I do understand what Nick is saying, although I do want to point out his inconsistency because he was essentially saying that when a quarterback is playing awful and yet they're still able to win some games, then we can say, hey, when you add another quarter, when you actually get good quarterback, this team should be next level. And he was saying that that was why people were saying that about the Jets, but not about the Steelers. But we all know that that's also his theory for why he thinks the Chicago Bears are going to be a great team. And yet you could say the same thing, that that's what happened when the Bears won the game, was that Justin Fields was able to kind of show some magic, show some high points, and was able to win some games. So therefore, that won't be as big of a jump when Caleb Williams gets there. So again, just some inconsistent logic that I just can't help but point out. I just got it. It's my job. But anyway, in terms of how the Steelers will actually be, listen, the fact that Aiyuk is there now, to me, more than anything, just shows that Russell Wilson needs to be the starting quarterback. For whatever reason, this made a lot of people angry. When I said that Russ should be the starting quarterback for the Steelers, this made so many people angry, and it's just like, I for the life of me, I don't know why. But the Steelers have a legitimate roster now, with a legitimate defense, with a legitimate defensive head coach, and a legitimate offensive coordinator. Okay? They need a mature, composed, ready-made quarterback. Not someone who has to now learn how to play football. Because that is what Justin Fields is. Justin Fields needs to learn how to play football. I don't care that he had success in college. Stop with that. That means nothing to me. It means nothing to me. College and NFL are very, very different, okay? Very different. How do we know? Because we've seen it over the years again and 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 again. So just stop. I don't care. And I don't want to talk about what Justin Fields did in Chicago. It doesn't matter to me anymore. The one thing that we do know is that Justin Fields is not ready-made. He does not have the maturity and the experience and the success. He has not shown to be able to command an offense. Okay? We've been able to see, even if you have bad coordinators and bad weapons, you can still see a good quarterback command an offense. We see this all the time. We see it with the Joe Burrows, the Tom Brady's, the Patrick Mahomes' of the world. Obviously, those guys have some great coordinators and some great teams in their past, but we've seen when things get sloppy, whether it be because of drop passes, whether it be because of bad coordinators, Josh Allen, whatever it may be, we can still see the mastery over their craft. Them putting themselves in a position to succeed or trying their best to get their team to succeed. That's not what was happening with Justin Fields. Justin Fields was lost out there. That's the fundamental difference. I rip Josh Allen's and the Buffalo Bills situation and what the Bills have done for Josh Allen, right? With coordinating, all of that type of stuff. But Josh Allen still shows competence in those moments. Even if he's throwing an interception, he's still showing competence. He's not lost. Justin Fields has been lost. That is the problem. He is a work in progress. This is not meant to rip Justin Fields. Lots of players can be lost and can become good or great or even elite. But the point is that now's not the time to play in the sandbox. The Steelers can legitimately win games today. So they need a two-day quarterback. Okay? Would have Tampa Bay Buccaneers won the Super Bowl if they didn't have Tom Brady when they got him? They needed Tom Brady. If they had another quarterback, another young first or second year quarterback, they would not have won the Super Bowl. Whether it was Josh Allen, I don't remember the exact years at this point, but Josh Allen was probably in the year for a couple, was in the league for a couple of years. I believe maybe Jalen Hurts was. I'm trying to think of all these like young quarterbacks who had just entered the league. Maybe Tua, right? Those quarterbacks would not have won a Super Bowl. Those quarterbacks wouldn't have even got into a Super Bowl, and I really believe that. They needed to be worked. That is where Justin Fields is. If you think that Justin Fields can be something special, fine. But it's going to take a minute or two. And this is not the roster to do it with. This is not the team to do it with. They have legitimate weapons with a legitimate defense, with a legitimate coordinator. So they just need a legitimate quarterback. You get a legitimate quarterback, you're going to win some games. You just are. I'm not telling you that you're going to win a Super Bowl. I'm not saying that you're going to go 10-1, whatever it may be. I have no idea, but I do know that you can be legitimately competitive. And that is when you can trust Mike Tomlin. And you can trust him to not only be a leader, but to also win those tough, hard, physical games where you just need good, competent quarterback play. You just need a quarterback to not throw away the game, to not put your defense constantly on their back foot, to put so much pressure on the defense where it's like, if you can't hold this other team to 10 points or less, we're just not going to win. That is who Russell Wilson can be for the Steelers. It's not to say that Justin Fields can't be, but there's just too many unknowns. This is more of a guarantee. And quite frankly, the way how I look at it is the Steelers need a guarantee. That's why the Tampa Bay Buccaneers went out and said, let's get Tom Brady. Sure, we can draft some other quarterback. Sure, we can pay for some other quarterback maybe who's going to be better than what we have, but we need someone now. We need competence. We need clarity. We need someone that when we go down and have a game plan, we know they can execute it. We know that they understand the NFL. They understand the moment, the game. Justin Fields needs to learn all of this. All of this, especially if we're saying that the Chicago Bears were a disaster. If you're a big Justin Fields fan and you say Chicago Bears were just a mess and they ruined him, well, I got news for you. It's going to take more than just a few months to kind of rework him and get him back to being right again. It takes time. It takes a lot of time. So that's why I just think that the best, this is like, to me, the fact that the Steelers are making these moves, it just means that Russell Wilson, to me, should probably be the starter. Unless he really has shown that he has fallen off a cliff. I feel like we've kind of lost sight of this whole cliff thing, right? Ever since of like the Tom Brady's of the world. And even now, like in another sport, like LeBron James, and it just seems like people are playing, older and longer and being stronger and faster for deeper into their career, that we just no longer really see a falling off. And maybe Russell Wilson did fall off. Maybe he really is just not that good of a quarterback anymore. And so then if that's the case, then yeah, sure, throw Fields out there, right? But then understand that it is going to be a growing pain season. You got to see it as like you're essentially going out there with like a rookie quarterback. And again, you can obviously win some games, right? Everyone wants to point out to CJ Stroud and Brock Purdy, but those were just very specific circumstances in very specific divisions with essentially zero expectations in those moments. There's a tremendous amount of pressure and expectations, for the Pittsburgh Steelers with Justin Fields. Like, you're talking about now someone who's now playing for his literal career, his life. It's not what CJ Stroud was doing. That's not what Caleb Williams is going to be doing this season. That's not what Brock Purdy was doing, right? Like, it's just not. We have seen Justin Fields fail spectacularly, where the team that drafted him said, we don't want you anymore. That is quite the experience to have for anyone, let alone a young quarterback. So it's going to take some time to rebuild him. And I think that's okay. I think that's totally fair and understandable. So I just think that the Steelers need some confidence. They need to be more resilient, and they need to stop putting themselves in a deficit. And Russell Wilson, by all counts, should do just that. And quite frankly, you get to kind of pretty much see this is what Russ was able to do in Seattle. It's a similar, I don't want to say it's a similar team, but it could be a similar approach with a defensive head coach, with a ruthless, physical, strong defense, with some decent weapons on offense, with an established run game, some great receivers. We know Russell Wilson can really, dare I say, dominate in those circumstances. And if Russell Wilson has been humbled and isn't all about the let Russ cook type of thing, we know Russ can legitimately succeed in that situation. How do we know? Because we've seen him do it. We've seen him literally win a Super Bowl. We've seen him go to Pro Bowls, lead the league in, I think, passing touchdowns or yards. I forget exactly what it was. We've seen it happen. And so I don't even think we have to say, like, he has to rewind the clock. He just has to be who he's been. I don't think he necessarily fully lost that. He just didn't have the support around him to be able to do that. And so if we want to offer that to Justin Fields and say Justin Fields didn't have the support, well, then we should also be able to offer the exact same thing to Russ. Like, tell me why Justin Fields didn't have the support. That's why he failed. But somehow Russ did have the support in Denver with Nathaniel Hackett. Like, it doesn't really make sense. So I'm really excited to see how this all ends up. I am a firm believer that Russ should be the starter. And I think the Steelers can actually be a legitimate team this year. And I just think that is what puts them in the best possible situation. But those are just my thoughts. I would absolutely love to hear yours. What do you guys all think? Do you expect the Steelers to make the playoffs? Do you think they can win the division? What do you guys all think? I know my camera just went off, but hopefully you can still hear me. Let me know in the comments below. I read every single comment, so whether you agree with me or disagree with me, either way, let's get in some discussions, let's get in some fights, but ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We are building an amazing community here, and I would absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all genuinely feel connected to, something that we're really excited to be part of. I think we're well on our way to doing it. Please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it really does help with the visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much, and see you next time.